My name is Elena, and for 23 years, I believed I was the disappointment. Not because anyone ever said those words. My mother never said them. But she didn't have to. A mother can tell you everything, with silence. Every birthday, my sister Kate got the big cake, the loud song, the photos on the wall. I got a small candle, and a quiet happy birthday, dear. I used to think something was wrong with me. That I wasn't smart enough, pretty enough, easy enough to love. But last spring, I found a letter in my mother's drawer. And that letter changed everything I thought I knew about my family. This is the story of how I stopped asking to be chosen and started choosing myself. Chapter 1: The Empty Chair. Growing up, our house had a rule nobody wrote down but everyone obeyed: Kate came first. If there was one umbrella, Kate held it. If there was one seat by the window, Kate sat there. If there was one plate of the last slice of pie, it went to Kate, with a smile, without a question. I was 2 years older. I told myself that meant I should be mature about it. Understanding. Patient. So I learned to disappear a little. I learned to say it's fine so many times that the words lost their meaning. At dinner, my mother would ask Kate about her day first. Always first. Then, almost as an afterthought, she would turn to me and say, "And you, Elena? Anything interesting?" Anything interesting. As if my life needed to earn her attention. I remember one Christmas, I was maybe 12, when I won first place in a regional art competition. I ran home with the certificate, breathless, so proud I could barely speak. My mother glanced at it for 2 seconds and said, "That's nice, sweetheart," before turning back to help Kate practice her piano piece for the school concert. I sat in the empty chair by the door that night, certificate in my lap, and I made a decision. I decided that if love in this house was a competition, I simply wasn't going to compete anymore. So I stopped trying. Chapter 2: Building a Life Elsewhere. By 18, I left for university in another city. Not because I hated my mother, I didn't. I just needed air. I needed a place where nobody compared me to anyone. There, something surprising happened. People noticed me. My professors praised my essays. My roommate called me the calm one, the person others turned to when things fell apart. A boy named Marco told me I had a gift for making people feel important, a gift, he said, most people never develop. It felt strange, being seen like that. Like trying on a coat that fit perfectly, but that I never thought was made for me. I built a small, steady life. A job I liked. Friends who remembered my birthday without being reminded. A quiet kind of happiness. Kate, meanwhile, stayed close to our mother. She never seemed to need distance the way I did. Maybe because she never needed to earn what I was still, secretly, chasing. I visited home twice a year. Each time, the pattern repeated itself, familiar as an old song: Kate's job, Kate's boyfriend, Kate's plans, discussed with warmth and detail. My life, summarized in one polite sentence: "And how's the job going, dear?" I told myself I didn't mind. I was lying. Chapter 3: The Drawer. Last spring, my mother asked me to help clean out her study. She was moving to a smaller apartment, and there were boxes everywhere, old bills, photographs, souvenirs from a life I only half knew. In the bottom drawer of her writing desk, under a stack of expired coupons, I found a small wooden box. Inside it was a single folded letter, yellow with age, addressed in my mother's handwriting, but never sent. It was written the year I turned 3. The year, I would later calculate, just before Kate was born. I shouldn't have read it. But my hands opened it before my mind decided to stop them. The letter was addressed to her own mother, my grandmother, who had passed away long before I was born. In it, my mother wrote about exhaustion, about a difficult, frightening pregnancy with Kate, about a doctor's warning that she might lose the baby and might lose her own health along with it. And then, one line, near the bottom, stopped my breath completely. "I'm so afraid I won't survive this one, Mama. If I don't, please make sure Elena knows she was loved first, and loved completely. She was my easy miracle, before all this fear began." I sat on the floor of that study for a long time, letter in my hands, understanding arriving slowly, like light entering a dark room. Chapter 4: What Fear Does to Love. I found my mother in the kitchen and, without planning it, I placed the letter in front of her. She went very still. Then, quietly, she began to explain. The pregnancy with Kate had nearly killed her. Weeks in hospital. A heart condition the doctors hadn't caught until it was almost too late. She survived, barely, and Kate arrived early, fragile, needing constant care for her first 2 years of life. I was so afraid of losing her, my mother said, her voice breaking slightly. Every cough, every fever, I thought it would be the one that took her from me. You were healthy, Elena. Strong. You never frightened me the way she did. I thought that meant you needed me less. She looked at me, tears finally falling. I didn't love you less. I was just too exhausted, and too afraid, to show you what I felt. And then the habit simply continued. Long after the fear should have ended. I didn't cry. Strangely, I felt something closer to relief, the relief of finally understanding a puzzle I had been solving my whole life. But understanding the reason didn't erase the years. Chapter 5: The Quiet Choice. I could have shouted. I could have listed every birthday, every dinner, every "that's nice, sweetheart" that had quietly built a wall inside me for 2 decades. Instead, I did something that surprised even me. I stood up, folded the letter carefully, and placed it back in her hands. "Thank you for telling me," I said. "I needed to hear it. But I don't need you to fix 20 years in one afternoon. I've already built a life I'm proud of, with or without that chair by the window." My mother reached for my hand. I let her hold it. I didn't need to pull away anymore, and I didn't need to lean in desperately either. I simply let it be what it was. For the first time, I wasn't performing patience. I wasn't hiding hurt behind "it's fine." I was simply, calmly, choosing myself, not out of anger, but out of peace. Chapter 6: What changed, and what didn't. Things didn't transform overnight, the way they do in films. My mother still sometimes speaks to Kate first at dinner. Old habits, she admits, take years to unlearn. But something did shift. She calls me now, sometimes just to ask about my day, genuinely, not as an afterthought. Last month, she visited my apartment for the first time in 3 years and stayed for a full weekend, asking questions about my work like she actually wanted the answers. Kate, when she eventually learned about the letter, cried harder than I did. "I always thought you just didn't want to be close to us," she told me. "I never knew you were waiting for something we weren't giving you. We are, slowly, becoming sisters in a way we never were as children, not through comparison, but through honesty." Quiet resolution. I never confronted my mother in anger. I never demanded she apologize in front of the family, or explain herself to anyone but me. I didn't need witnesses to my pain, and I didn't need her to perform regret for an audience. The real victory wasn't watching her feel guilty. The real victory was realizing, quietly, in that kitchen, that I no longer needed her version of love to know my own worth. I had already built that, piece by piece, city by city, without her noticing. She finally saw me. But by then, I had already learned to see myself first. And that, I've learned, is the quietest, strongest kind of ending there is. Thank you for learning English with this story. See you in the next English listening practice. Please subscribe to watch more story on Learn All About English.